This week on Arizona Illustrated, looking to the heavens on Mount Lemmon.
80% of the world's population can't see the Milky Way anymore. And many people come up, and it is the first time they've seen that.
Healthy remedies, new and old.
It's kind of like setting up two friends. You know, you're like, well, these plants have these virtues and these strengths, and this person is needing or yearning for these aspects in their life. So I want them to meet.
A date with Douglas.
We have family over there. We have family over here. You know, it isn't like it's them and us. It's so still we are we.
And from far afield, Feverfew. Welcome to Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. Southern Arizona is known for its dark skies and mountaintop observatories, allowing amateur stargazers and professional astronomers alike to set their eyes on planets and galaxies millions of miles away. We went to the Mount Lemmon Observatory to see for ourselves.
I think for a lot of people, from the time that you're young, you look up and you see the stars and you sort of develop this sense of wonder and what is out there and what could be out there and what those possibilities are. And it makes you feel very big and simultaneously very, very small. I'm Tracy Buden. I'm an instructional specialist for the Mount Lemmon Sky Center.
We run nightly public astronomy programs. We call them Sky Nights, 5 days a week. And the goal is to bring people up and give them a sense that science matters. You are literally at the summit, the highest point in the Catalina Mountains. And this site originally was a military installation during the Cold War. It was developed in the late 1950s. Often people think that astronomy is too big or too amazing, or that there's some level of math that they have to be able to understand and appreciate the night sky. And what we work to do in our programs is to take that wonder and amazement that they come in with and help them understand the science, and that through that science they can demand an answer, and that it makes the night sky, the objects they're looking at the telescope, even more amazing and more wonderful.
So we're going to use our binoculars and we're going to focus on that little blip. What I want you to do is take your binoculars and close your right eye. We're going to focus on that little blip with our left eye. And once you get it in focus, you can see that little blip is actually a telescope. That's a 4-meter telescope. I actually joke that I need this job to fund my outreach habit. Astronomy is a very accessible subject. It's an observational science. Anyone can go out and observe the stars and, you know, make notes and see what changes and what doesn't.
Often someone looks at a small galaxy and it's a fuzzy gray thing in the eyepiece. But when they learn what it is they're looking at, and that they begin to understand the distance to that galaxy, or that the brighter center tells them something, or that there's a lane of dust in the spiral arm, the meaning that they can make through that understanding is almost intangible. And we never know when they leave where they take that sense of inquiry and excitement.
I started working at the Sky Center about 5 years ago. I've just always loved astronomy. I mean, science and space is just awesome. I mean, what kid does not want to become an astronaut until you realize how terrifying space is? I mean, it's vacuum and near absolute zero. I mean, just think the movie Gravity, just real. And so you decide to look at it from afar instead of actually going to it. You know, I remember when I was a little kid, you know, getting a little telescope and trying to find things and not being able to, and then getting into college, you know, taking an astronomy class, falling in love with it, getting a new telescope, and actually being able to see a few things and being like, this is what I want to do.
Southern Arizona, we're very lucky to have access to a night sky where we can see many stars, where we can see the Milky Way. 80% of the world's population can't see the Milky Way anymore. And many people come up, and it is the first time they've seen that. And it's a visceral experience. And not to sound too mystical, but it is something that binds us across time and cultures.
I love sharing my passion for the night sky with others. I love to see people's faces when they see Saturn for the first time in a telescope, or Jupiter, and just to inspire that awe in people, the same awe that I feel when I look up at the night sky.
Isaac, go ahead and look through. Tell me what we're looking at.
I see a thingy with the vest.
Looks kind of like a ball with ears. That is exactly how Galileo described it. We are looking at Saturn. The absolute favorite part of my job, I think, would be being able to show something to someone that they have heard about or they've been always interested in seeing that they had never been able to see before. One instance was we actually had a PhD student here at the Sky Center. They had been studying white dwarf stars, basically the dead cores of stars, for the last 4 or 5 years. He had used data from various telescopes, including Hubble, but he had never actually seen a white dwarf through a telescope before, visually. And so I was able to actually do that, and his excitement being able to see something that he had been researching for so many years was just awesome.
Okay, are we ready to move the telescope? Hold on. We're ready? Okay, now you're going to click that button right here that says Go To, and then look at the telescope. Watch.
My name is Isaac Federico Teneo. My grade is first grade. I'm 6 years old. I've been moving this big giant telescope right here, and I got it to go see the moon, the sunset, Jupiter, the other place. Yeah, the spinning thing, whatever it is.
Move this over down here.
And I have to feed my cats. My cats are gonna be so frustrated at me. When I grow up, I wanna be a scientist who builds stuff, like Tony Stark, who sacrificed himself.
I'm sorry. I'm sending a signal, okay? Let's see. Dot, dash, dash, dash. So in about 22,000 years, they might respond. I would be interested in going up to space. Definitely not like going to like Mars or something. A little too far, a little bit long of a commute.
I would actually love to be in space. Yeah, I would not turn down a ticket. One way, both ways, I'm good.
We humans, we've been on this planet for a good long while, and we know the Earth pretty well, but astronomy is the study of literally everything else.
As humans, we evolved with natural cycles of light and dark. The stars were how we found our way across land and waterscapes, and the stars are where the gods lived, where our culture lived, and how stories were passed down. And when I look up at the night sky, I feel really small, but I also feel connected to something huge and something infinite. And I think that we're really missing that in our society today. There were so many boundaries and countries and divisions and differences. And when you look up at the night sky and see that beauty, you realize that we're just humans on spaceship Earth as we're, hurtling through space at really, really breakneck speeds. And the boundaries that we've created for ourselves here, they kind of melt away when we look up and realize that we're all just humans in it together.
Douglas, Arizona, in the southeastern corner of the state, was built as a smelter town last century to serve the copper mines in nearby Bisbee. But since the smelter closed in the 80s, the border community's economy has been struggling. Well, recently the town launched a pilot program to promote tourism. This is A Date with Douglas.
I like to call myself the old cheerleader of Douglas. Basically, I'm a volunteer, trying to point out to people that we have an amazing community. We really do. When I do a tour, I like to show people who we are. I like to show them the Gadsden Hotel, because you look at it from the outside and you're like, so. Then you walk in and the magic happens.
was really established because of the copper industry, you know, and this was the place to be, and we just really want to recreate that again for everyone. We had heard that they were going to close the hotel. The owner had passed away, they couldn't find a buyer, and the rumors around town were that they were really going to close it. This truly is a labor of love, and I will tell you, it is worth every day of it. We decided to take a leap of faith and make an offer on the building, and they accepted it, and here we are.
Church Square, the 4 churches that are on this block over here in front of us. You have the Baptist Church, you've got the Presbyterian Church, the Episcopalian Church, and the Methodist Church, all on one block. It was planned that way. When they were designing the city, when they were designing Douglas, that was planned. Douglas has extremely wide streets. The criteria was 20 mules. 20 mules had to be able to make a turn in Douglas. So that's how wide a street had to be. And I thought, okay. So there's a lot of little quirky things that are kind of fun and just amazing about Douglas. There's a new art group coming in, and there's all kinds of ways to express art.
Art Car World is a vision of a gentleman named Herod Blank. He's a filmmaker, and his passion has been folk art, and in this case, automotive art. Herod had a long relationship with friends from Bisbee. And in terms of choosing Douglas as a place to come, folks had recommended it because it had several buildings which he could afford to purchase. So it really was a real estate issue rather than any other.
El Chapo's tunnel, you know, people are like, when that was discovered, I remember being in Douglas, and all of a sudden there was helicopters everywhere, you know, and it was like this invasion of helicopters, but it was the media.
You're inside the warehouse that housed the exit of Chapo Guzman's first drug tunnel. And it's significant because he made lots of tunnels, and this is his first one. And he started this in '89, and it was found, busted by DEA in May of 1990. And this grate that's down to my right here on the ground is where it came up on the US side, and it started in Agua Prieta, 330 feet the other south of here. There, the access to the tunnel was underneath a pool table that was on hydraulic lifts. To me, it was a benchmark because Douglas Smelter closed in 1987. That was what provided about a $10 million payroll and 345 jobs here. When that closed, it left this horrendous vacuum, obviously, in here. Well, Chapo came to town in late '89, and that all changed. It was such an influx of money. It just changed Agua Prieta forever. I saw documents that indicated estimates, DE estimates, they estimated it was over 70 tons of cocaine came through this hole right next to me here.
So it's an intriguing time of Douglas's history. But it doesn't say who we are. It's just a piece of it. It doesn't define us. It's just a piece of our history. So, you know, we can either make lemonade out of it or keep it as a lemon. When you think about it, like my family has roots that came all the way from 1906. That's my dad's side of the family. 1906 they arrived. We're not even a state. My mother's side of the family came in 1917. We have roots that go way back. We have family over there. We have family over here. You know, it isn't like all of a sudden it's them and us. It's so still we are we. We're we's here. This was done by the Memorial Committee, and they did it all on their own. The Memorial Park has the names of everybody who was killed in action. I volunteer because I believe strongly that you have to give back to your community. And I don't do anything, I don't give anything of my time unless I have passion. And it was just like a YMCA across the nation.
I have been very, very supportive, not only of Jenny Jordan, because she's a great ambassador of our community, but I believe that tourism is one of the major things that Douglas has to offer. We have a lot, it's just that sometimes we don't open up our eyes and our ears to see what's going on.
You know, people will tell me, oh, Douglas is so boring, and I go, God, I'd give a day to be bored. I've never been bored. You know, I just don't know what it's like to be bored.
How long are you going to be doing this?
Till I get a new residence on 3rd Street. Do you know what 3rd Street is? That's where the cemetery is.
The Discover Douglas tours are currently scheduled the 2nd and 4th Saturdays of the month. For more information, call the Douglas, Arizona Visitor Center. Modern medicine has made many life-saving and life-extending advancements, but for a growing number of people, a more natural and organic approach to health remedies, therapies, and cures is being embraced, some of which are centuries old.
We do it without even noticing it. There's some kind of innate knowing that it improves the quality of our lives to be around plants.
St. John's wort and chamomile were these two herbs that allowed me to remember that life still happens, and they just brought in this positivity that I felt like I was really without.
I had really incredible memories of my great-grandma Lupe coming over to my house in Phoenix when I was a really young kid and kind of boiling herbs on the stove. We had just yerba buena growing wild in our backyard, and she saw it and recognized it as something that was edible, that we could drink, and even though I must have been really young, that really stuck with me for some reason. I'm Carla Vargas Frank. I'm an herbalist. I have a private practice here in Tucson, and I also do education, herbal education. Herbalism is using plant material from everything from food to ritual to medicine. That can be vibrational, it can be more allopathic, but I think just kind of using the natural world as a way to balance and heal oneself. Healing resource for the community. So when I sit down with a client, it's going to take at least 2 hours. I want to look at their, their history of health. I want to look at their family's health. I also want to, hear about the experiences that they've had growing up, whether or not they've come to me for a physical issue or a mental issue that may have affected how they live in the world. And so then when I get that initial knowledge from that person, I can sort of kind of piece together sort of like a team of herbs that I think would be helpful to that person in this time. And it's kind of like setting up two friends. You know, you're like, well, these plants have these virtues and these strengths, and this person is needing or yearning for these aspects in their life to bring balance, so I want them to meet. Herbal medicine and the healing philosophies that come out of a lot of these traditions look at people as a whole, and I think that people are really yearning for that.
I've had experiences where I've gone to a practitioner, like a Western doctor, and instead of them asking me what I'm dealing with or what I'm going through or how I'd like to deal with what I'm going through, they would tell me. And so many times those things didn't work. It started with mental health for sure, because when I was living in Seattle, I struggled a lot. I felt very lost at that time. I felt very depressed and very lethargic. I had no health insurance. I started to think about where my resources were and what I felt like I could obtain, and it was a lot of herbs like St. John's wort and chamomile and things like that. And they just brought in this kind of springtime feeling of kind of growing and being like, you know, I'm capable again of leaving my house, and I feel like I want to do these things. I think there may be a new awareness of connecting back to the earth and back to our ancestral traditions, especially among, I think, women and queer folks and like non-binary people. I think we live in a world where we feel really secluded and sometimes ostracized.
I think that people are feeling disempowered by being looked at sort of in pieces. And so I think the similarity between a lot of these traditions, no matter where they come from, is that we're looking for the root. We're digging for where it started. And it's impossible, really, I think, to find that root without, you know, looking at all of the things and the situations and the environments that have brought us to this point. This is something that people can afford, they can access. There are less kind of gatekeepers in terms of them at least working towards solutions. And this is a way that people can take their health into their own hands.
And now, from our Far Afield series, we bring you Feverfew in Tucson.
I'm not here to be a smile. I'm not here to fill your sorrows for you. I'm not here to mend your broken parts. I'm just broken, but you know that. I'm not here to fill your lonely night. I'm not here to change the way you see life. I'm not here to mend your broken parts. I'm just as broken, but you know that. Together. broken, but you knew that. I'm not here to be a fruit in your stud. I'm not here to fill your lonely heart. I'm not here to mend your broken parts. I'm just as broken, but you just as broken. Just as broken. Just as broken. Just as broken. But you knew that.
Thank you for joining us here on Arizona Illustrated. I'm Tom McNamara. See you next week.